Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LFC Transfer Room live stream with myself, Menti, Tom, and Chad. Thank you guys so much for joining us today on a Victory Monday, as I am going to now keep calling it for all the Sundays that we're going to be playing going forward. Great weekend for Liverpool, considering a 3-0 win at Brentford. Very deserved win. A little bit shaky at the start, but look, 3 points, 3 points, doesn't matter how they come. And thankfully, a lot of fixtures went our way over the weekend with the likes of Spurs dropping points, the likes of Arsenal dropping points. I lie, Arsenal won. They didn't drop points. The likes of Man City dropping points. So Liverpool now are currently sat in second, just 1 point behind Man City, and our next matchup is Man City. But as is always the Liverpool way, unfortunately, we don't get anything easy. And it has to be a 12:30 kickoff following an international break, which Klopp made points about, saying that it's a bit silly to be putting two teams that have combined maybe 30 international players on an international after an international break as the early kickoff. They couldn't, flex it out till 5:30 in the day, maybe even the Sunday, considering how many numbers that game is going to bring in. But look, clearly the people that are making those decisions aren't football fans. But nonetheless, we are here. We are going to be talking about it. And the first bit of big news is that Real Madrid are currently sniffing around a certain Scouser that has been with Liverpool for quite some time and are willing to offer in the region of £70 million for him. Now, this Liverpool Scouser he's with the club since he's been a child, and he's won in every trophy he's ever had to win. And if you don't know who it is yet, it's fucking Trent Alexander-Arnold. So at the moment, Real Madrid are looking to move for him in the next summer. Now, he doesn't have his contract renewed yet. His contract is up in 2025, as far as I'm aware. But no talks on renewing it as of yet, which there probably shouldn't be, considering that he's probably going to get talks next summer to renew it. Like where he'll get it renewed in 2024. I'm not too worried about it. I share the same sentiment, Jen. They can do one, and I'm pretty sure that's not the finger you were trying to use on that emoji, but they can definitely do one. But I'll pass this over to my panel mates, and we'll see what their opinions are on if we should cash in on Trent now, if we're going to have to clip any of this and maybe put it on TikTok for some absurd takes. But I think we might all be within the same boat on this. And as Alan, as you mentioned, they can want all they want. They can want all they like. Real Madrid want Trent Alexander-Arnold. Well, as a wise man once said, if my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a bike. So that's the way that I look at it. So, Menti, I'll pass it over to yourself first. Do you think there's any threat of Trent maybe even considering possibly buying a ticket to go on holiday to Madrid, never mind going and playing for Madrid?
There shouldn't be, but we have FSG as owners. But I'm saying if the price is right, they'll consider it, if I'm being honest. If it's a little bit over 100 to 125, Trent's gone. FSG will sell him in a heartbeat, but we shouldn't sell him. He's like the Scouser, the legend, fan favorite. But I just think it all depends on the price and what if his numbers compared to what they are previously. If he has a good year, he's definitely not going anywhere. But I think FSG will consider it. I'm not saying Klopp will. I'm not saying recruitment will, but FSG will from a business perspective.
Yeah,
that's my thought.
It's interesting when you say FSG, because I think they wanted to get rid of Salah this summer, and I think it's yourself that was talking to me about it in the group chat, is that they wanted to get rid of Salah this summer, but or somebody else then mentioned that Klopp would throw a fit. I think Klopp would genuinely walk out the club if that happened. But I'll pass it over to yourself, Chad. Clearly you're not getting much support here in the chat, Mendy, from people considering Jen is saying that they're not even there that stupid, which I tend to agree with. They can make some boneheaded decisions. Speaking of Jen, just wanted to say thank you so much for the £4, Jen. It's your super sticker. It's very much appreciated, helping us fund our January transfer window as you did with the summer window. Let's hope it goes just as well. Considering two of the players that I'm very interested in will be mentioned later on in this. But thank you so much. It means an awful lot, and it always goes back into the channel to make more content for you guys. So thank you so much for that. Chad, are you of a similar vein of thought? I'll throw you the same question that Paul has put in here, the hypothetical. If we sell Trent, cool, they can give us Chouameni and Vinny Jr. Would you take that trade, so to speak, if we were speaking in American sports where you can trade players back and forth? Would you take that trade?
No, I wouldn't. I think that if Trent goes, the club will get burnt down. I feel like there'll be a riot in Liverpool, and Liverpool Football Club wouldn't exist anymore. I'm joking, obviously it will, but I'm saying I agree with what Minty was saying about business aspects. Yeah, 100% it might be, but it's the Scouse in the team. You can't sell the Scouse in the team, especially if he's the vice captain of the team. The whole future is based around Trent Alexander-Arnold, having him being, at that age where he can lead the new crop of players coming in and we can build around him. So I don't see it as a possibility. I don't feel the same kind of hate that some of the comments are giving to me about the decision to sell. But I feel like I wouldn't take the deal. I wouldn't take any deal with regards to Trent. I feel like the Mbappe deal is much more. How can I say? It's more likely than a Trent getting sold to Real Madrid. Let me say we getting Mbappe is more likely than us selling Trent at the moment. The whole team is around Trent, and the whole future is based around Trent and having him there to lead the new crop of players. So, from my side, I don't think we'll sell Trent. I don't think FSG is that greedy for money to sell him for Trent. But no, I wouldn't take any player for Trent.
Yeah. Before I get into anything else, Ash, I'm going to ask you once, and I'll ask you nicely. We don't do that shit here. You will be removed. I'm all for banter. I'm all for a bit of jokes, but that's shit that we don't do. All right, you're getting warned once, and that's it. Apologies, Chad. That's the kind of shit that you shouldn't be saying here. Your opinion is completely valid, and you're exactly the same as Menti. I apologize for that. Ash, you put that shit in the chat again, you will be removed, and I'll make sure you're banned. Simple as. I mean, make fun of my glasses all you want. I couldn't give two fucks, but you're not going to come in here and make fun of people that have an accent. That's the most highly racist shit that I've ever seen in my life. So keep it up, and you will be banned. It's as simple as that. We don't tolerate that shit here at this club or at this channel. Simple as. I apologize, Chad, if that did upset you. I know it probably didn't, but at the same time, that's the kind of shit we don't tolerate. So yeah, Ash, you can either sit and enjoy, you can have a constructive conversation with us, or you can fucking leave. I really don't care. It's as simple as that. But I'll move on, and we won't dwell on that too much longer. Tom, on to a little bit more of a sensible argument other than that twat in the comments. Are you much of an agreement with Chad and Menti that if the price was right, Trent would go, but wouldn't? Or do you think that Klopp would kind of throw his toys out of the pram and just say, no, I'm not having that. I'll veto that if I have to.
Yeah, I can't see a world in which he goes, to be honest. Like, no matter what the price really, obviously, he's the scouser in the team. He's obviously got age on his side still as well. He's only 25, isn't he? So, in terms of from an FSG point of view, they've still got a lot of value there in him, haven't they? In terms of whether he'd be turned, it's one of them. If Real Madrid is seriously in for you, I think you would always be that slight temptation. Like, it's the biggest club in the world. It's the pinnacle of football. If you're a footballer and they come in for you, there will be that slight head turn. But I think obviously he's a Scouser. He's won everything there is to win here. I can't see his head being turned, but all depends on the ambition of the club, doesn't it? Obviously he's won the lot here. And if FSG don't show that ambition, then you might have second thoughts. I can't see it, but possibly. But yeah, I don't have too many concerns about him leaving. I think he's here to stay for the rest of his career, to be honest.
Yeah, I have a feeling he's a bit of a lifer as well. Similarly to Steven Gerrard, he is Obviously, Steven Gerrard went to LA Galaxy and whatnot, but I think he'd be in much of a similar vein, and I think he knows that he could be captain here following Van Dijk's departure. So I think he's like boyhood club, been here since he was a kid, could potentially be the captain of Liverpool in 2 years' time. Why would he leave? Realistically, I get the whole ambition side of it, but as Paul mentions here, I think he is probably the only untouchable in the club. I'd argue Salah also, but again, I think if the right price comes in at 150 million next year for a 32-year-old right winger, I think you'd jump at that chance, personally. But I think Paul is right in that he's the only untouchable. I also agree with Paul's other point, to be honest with you. I think it was a little bit lenient with that dickhead earlier, so he's gone. That's what you get for acting the dickhead in this place. It's not what we tolerate at all. But we'll move on from that and we won't dwell on that too much. I do agree with Paul. This is what Paul mentioned. There should be no second chance for that. It should be removed right away. And he's correct. So he's gone. Anybody else pulls shit like that, I don't care who it is, whether it's me, whether it's Tom, whether it's Menti, whether it's Chad or anybody, that shit don't fly. It's as simple as that. But
I thought my accent was actually kind of cool.
I thought it was. I love the South African accent. It's actually it's such a subtly threatening accent. It's hilarious. It's kind of like the Northern Irish accent. It's
my like proper colored accent, you know. I'm trying to do my private school thing, yeah, you know, trying to show my English, my vocabulary. Oh, funny.
No, that's good, bro.
No, but I like it. I think the South African accent is really cool. It's kind of it's one of those accents that gets like more threatening the quieter it gets. Like, if that makes sense. It's like a really cool accent like that.
Well, you're talking about like the Zulu, the native languages, Zulu Xhosa languages.
Yeah, and it's I don't know what it is. Kind of like the Northern Irish one. It's like if you had a room full of Northern Irish people shouting at you, you wouldn't feel all that threatened. But then if you had somebody just like, I wouldn't do that if I was you. That sort of an accent, like you'd shit yourself. It's one of them ones. I think it's a really cool accent. So whatever that Ash fucker is on about, I don't give a shit. He's a tit. And somebody no, look, man.
It's fine.
I get it. Like I get it. It's well, clearly Jim Hughes is a type as well. So I mean, but we'll move on from all that shit that just went on there because realistically we're not going to dwell on it. It doesn't deserve any more airtime than it's already gotten. But before we move on to our next topic, I do want to say thank you guys so much for joining us. We've nearly over 20 people in here at the moment. If you haven't done so already, please do like and subscribe. We're going to try and get to 10,000 subscribers hopefully by the start of the next transfer window. And we could really use your help to get there. Another 200 people liked and subscribed. It'll get us there, and we'd absolutely love you forever. And just to make sure to have the bell notification on for all of the future videos. We're live from 7:30 every day, UK time, so make sure you have the notification bell on not to miss out, okay? Thank you guys so much again, and we'll move on now to the next topic. So, speaking of our January transfer window, it is been revealed today that the Anfield Road extension will be opened on the 9th of March 2024, which will be essentially in time for our home fixture against Man City. Probably a very much anticipated game at that point, and could also be for the lead of the Premier League at that point as well. I'll start with yourself, Chad, on this one. With the finances and everything surrounding that, how it may affect a January transfer window. Do you think that like the delays and maybe the extra money that has to be funded into it, that it might handcuff us a little bit in negotiations in January? Or do you think this is just a completely separate issue and it won't do it? Because it's a very interesting topic to think of if you're looking at it from a bottom line and balancing point of view, that if we have to pump more money into this, the money has to come from somewhere. So we can't just pull it from thin air. So do you think that this will, and as Jamie mentions, if there are no more delays, do you think the delays up until this point and the financial burden that is put on us in finding a new company and getting the old one, and then all the shit that's probably going to happen to the stands, considering the condition that they're in, do you think this handcuffs us in January, or do you think this is more of a kick the can down the road and it'll be a problem for the future of Liverpool rather than current?
No, I would assume that FSG put money aside for this before they started to build the new stand. So I'm assuming that they would just change the contractors, because obviously the contractors before they left and left the stand as it was in October. So I'm just assuming that there's just a change of contractors and that it's a separate issue from our transfer business and our squad business. Now I feel like it won't hamper our deals in January. I think that in January Klopp will given enough finances to improve the team as much as he can. As you can see, FSG can see how much just the 3 players that they brought in the summer, how much they have affected into the team and how much they have built into the team and made the team even stronger. And if FSG wants to recuperate the cost of the stands, particularly, bringing a new set of players in January will help boost our chances of winning something at the end of the season, and then that will boost revenues, obviously. And the Man City game is going to be a big game because it's Man City and it's at Anfield, and those extra thousands of people in the stands is just going to make the whole stadium just boom even more, and it's just going to be a terror. So I don't think it's an issue for us. I think it's an issue for Man City in terms of you're going to have more people screaming, Liverpool's name and screaming our chants, and it's going to be deafening for you. So for us, I don't see it's going to be an issue for us in January, especially when it comes to finances. I think FSG is smart enough to know to put the money aside and make sure that the team and the golden boy essentially is sorted and we'll be able to grow and bring back the revenue at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Tom, because on one side of it, as I mentioned, the money has to come from somewhere, but on the other side, as Chad mentioned, if they're smart enough business people, which one would assume that they are, the funds have been there from previous seasons and been put aside for previous seasons. Now, unfortunately, you can't predict a company going bust or going into liquidation like what happened with us, and they just completely pulled out and left it half done. But I'll ask the same question to you. Do you think the lack of the funds that will have to be funneled into this will cause us to be handcuffed a little and maybe underperform in the January window, but will allow us to then recoup some revenue for the next summer? But again, it's kind of the story of FSG so far. It's you can only have so much, you can't have it all, if that makes sense. What do you think? Will it handcuff us? Will it be next summer before we see returns? Or is this a problem for future, or is it not a problem at all?
If I'm honest, I don't think it'll impact too much because it's not like we ever spend that much in January anyway, is it? Like,
yeah,
what's up? We only ever really sign one player at most in January for 30, 40 mil tops. We never really make a huge signing in January. It's never too busy for us. So in terms of that, I can't really see it impacting it. I do agree that the money will be set aside. If nothing else, they are smart business people at FSG. They know what they're doing in terms of the finances. So yeah, and I would be surprised if it opens this season, if I'm honest with you, because by the time that Man City game comes around, there'll be about 5 home games left, won't there? So you'd think maybe they just want to get it in the absolute prime condition for next season, because originally it was meant to be the start of this season, wasn't it? And then it got moved back to December. Now it's been moved back to March, so you just get the feeling that it might just be next season now. I was at the game yesterday and the seats are all in. It does look good, but I think I saw a video going around that showed it like behind the scenes and it looked well away from being ready. So yeah, like I said, I would be surprised if it was ready this season. But in terms of the transfers, like I said, we don't really spend too heavy in January anyway, so I can't see it impacting too much.
Yeah, I don't think it will either, but not for the reason that you're saying as well. But I'll get to my reasoning in a minute, purely because it's the industry that I work in with the likes of insurance and stuff. But Menti, I'll ask you the same question again. I know I've asked it Chad and Tom, but I'll put a bit of a different spin on it. Do you think we maybe, as Tom mentioned, we don't necessarily spend all that much in January with the need for an out-and-out defensive midfielder, or maybe somebody that can play in a double pivot like Andre, and the need for a left-sided centre-back? Do you think this is maybe the January transfer window that we could see a lot of spending? Or is this going to be very similar to the last couple of seasons with the likes of Gakpo coming in January, or the likes of Luis Diaz coming in, like an impact player that will help for 3 months? Or which do you think? Do you think it's going to be go big or go home, or are we going to be the normal conservative selves?
I don't think it's like go big or go home, but I do believe that they'll get 2 players. I left center back as well as the DM, like you were speaking of. He might be in the same range, like Tom said. Nothing crazy above 30 million. But I think they'll definitely buy players, because if we actually do get players, I mean, we're in the title race. They want to be in that 4th spot. They want Champions League. So I don't see why FSG don't back Klopp up.
Yeah, the reason, Tom, that I don't think that it's going to cause much of an issue, like I agree with you, it's not going to cause all that much of an issue, but the reason being is because, as you said, they're smart business people. Insurance is going to be the main thing, because with the likes of big companies such as this, and like if FSG are employing a practitioner into provide a service, essentially, there's insurances that are put into the contract as well that are taken out by underwriters. So if a company goes bust and Liverpool, and the job is only half done, but Liverpool have paid for it in full, or have paid for a certain amount of it, or whatever it may be, the money is then recouped through the insurance company. So the construction company's employers, or the construction company themselves, would have hired an insurance company for liability. And if they end up going bankrupt and they have to pay out on contracts that are unfulfilled, that all gets pulled straight out of the insurance. It's essentially, so it's not free money, but it subsidizes the loss of income, especially considering the loss of seats and revenue that it should have been coming in since the start of the season. So I think the insurance money alone is going to come in and subsidize all of that. And you could nearly thank the insurance policies that are there for probably buying some players in January, in my own opinion, with the funds that may come in from them. But it's an interesting one, because as much as I wouldn't like us to be hampered by it, I do fear that it may be used as an excuse. But I'm very much in agreement with yourself, Menti, that it's I think it needs to be 2 players. I think it needs to be a left-sided centre-back, and I think it needs to be a DM as well. Be that Andre or be that another player. But getting those 2 would be just prime. And if I had my pick of the 2, I go with Goncalo Inacio and Florentino Luis, both of whom played yesterday. So if we got the 2 of them, we're winning the league. We're winning everything. I have zero doubts about that. Florentino Luis is essentially prime Fabinho at the age of 23. He's nuts. But we will finish up with that topic there, and we'll move on. I see a good few questions coming in through the chat. I'll save them, and I'll get to them more towards the end, because I want to have a bit of an interaction with the chat towards the end of it. So if you do have any questions, fire them in. It's any questions at all. The main one from Jen here, asking where the big man himself is. He's currently still with us. He hasn't left. Don't worry, I won't break your heart like that. He's due to be on. I'll tell you now if he's due to be on anytime this week. I think he might be on at the weekend, Jen, but don't quote me on that. Last week we had a bit of a technical issue that just wouldn't allow the Wednesday stream to go. So we just that's why Kev unfortunately wasn't here. But don't worry. When we know more, probably later in the week, we'll be able to let people know on stream, and we'll try and hype it up a little bit, because we all love Kev, and Kev loves everybody, and we know you love Kev, Jen. So we'll make sure that you're well prepared for that day. Don't worry. But before I do move on, just a little bit of housekeeping. Paul, he does have a high release clause, but during the summer, Benfica were meant to be happy to let him go for less than half of it, so the likes of 40 to 50 million pound. His actual release clause is like 120 million euro, but they were happy to take. The Benfica were coming out and saying in reports and with rumours from agents that they were happy to take about 50, 60 million pounds. And realistically, for a player like him, I'd happily jump at that. But just before we move on, I do want to ask everybody again, just make sure you do like and subscribe. Always helps the channel. We're trying to hit our 10,000 subscriptions just before the next transfer window, and make sure to have your notification on for all of our future streams. We are live from 7:30 p.m. UK time every day of the week, and we also have our post-game streams as well, and we have our American stream, Star Stripes and Anfield Nights, that will be on at 2 a.m. UK time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if my math is right on that. So we have something for the boys across the pond as well, thankfully. But we will move on to our next topic, which is the fact that our scouts were in Portugal. David, I see you spamming that in the chat. I'll get to it. I have it saved. I will answer it. Just stop spamming it in the chat, and I'll get to it by the end, okay? I know you're eager to ask it. We'll get to questions at the end. So if you have any questions other than that one, feel free to fire them in. I'll save them and I'll star them and I'll get to them at the end of it. And we'll ask everybody in the group as well. And I'll throw Paul's one in there as well because he's asking a couple of questions there. So the next topic is our scouts were over in Portugal. They were watching essentially El Clásico in the Portuguese league of Benfica and Sporting, where it was possibly the most late drama-filled game I've seen. I thought it was a better game than the Man City and Chelsea game over the weekend, to be honest with you. Benfica won 2-1, but they were down 1-0 until the 94th and the 97th minute when 2 goals went in, following my favourite player's 2 yellow cards to get him sent off in the 51st minute. But look, my boy, he did nothing wrong. He cannot do anything wrong in my eyes. He didn't get a red card. He shouldn't be suspended. Free my man. But we sent scouts again to go and watch Goncalo Inacio, and ironically, Florentino Luis, another player that we were highly linked with in the summer, was there too. Tom, I'll start with yourself on this one. This is getting to be a bit of a coincidence, or maybe a pattern is probably the better word. We were very interested in him in the summer, and now we've sent scouts over multiple times between the summer window and now to watch him. Even though his release clause has gone up by 20 million euros, would you still be happy with him as the left-sided centre-back to come in, or do you have somebody else that you hold in a higher esteem?
Yeah, for me, I'd be very happy to see him come in. There's not a huge amount of left centre-backs out there like on the market, is there? So, and I think he's one of the best, definitely for his age as well. He's only 23, I think, isn't he? So he's got good 10 years ahead of him still. Like, so, yeah, I'd be made up with that signing, but I can't see it. I think we'll probably only make one signing, and that will be a number 6. So, as much as I love him, and it could happen, I don't think it will. I think we'll prioritise that number 6. It is the glaring hole in the team, really, isn't it? So, I think that will be the priority. But and obviously Florentino Luis fits into that category. But yeah, like I said, I'd definitely take him. To be very happy with the signing. I think he's one of the best in terms of covering that position. But for me, I don't think it'll happen in January. Possibly one for the summer.
Do you think so? The hole that you mentioned that's in the team. Do you think signing a left-sided centre back to complement the double pivot, or do you think signing an out-and-out 6 fixes the team more? Which one fixes it more? For
me, I think a number 6. I think the centre-back thing is maybe a little bit overstated. I think, Canate is injury prone, but when he's on the pitch, he's outstanding. I think the number 6 is the glaring hole. It's obviously Adam McAllister who's playing out of position, or Endo who's does a job, but he's nowhere near what we need to win a title. So I think for me, that is definitely the priority over a centre-back for me.
Yeah, Menti, I'll throw a similar question to yourself. And that it's, as I said to Tom, it seems to be getting into a bit of a pattern now that we're really, really, really watching Goncalo Inacio. And I know Paul has mentioned in the chat that there's rumours and chatter about him going to United. That's not going to happen because United need to sell the farm for them to be able to afford anybody in January, and there's already rumours of them having a very quiet January, so I highly doubt that, Paul, unfortunately. As I say unfortunately, I say thankfully. But I'll give you the 2 same questions I gave Tom Menti, in that would you be happy with him, with Inacio coming in as the left-sided centre-back, and also instead of a 6, and also do you think which do you think fixes the hole in the team more? Do you think a CDM fixes the back line more than a left-sided centre-back does, because it would allow us to play that double pivot with Trent and McAllister?
I think for sure it would be a CDM if we did have to choose one, just because Robertson is eventually going to come back, and I know Klopp is loyal, so a CDM would make sense. And for the game, like you said, when scouts went, for me, I personally think they went for the other CDM that I've been talking about. His name is João Neves. He's a 19-year-old. I'm telling you, he is literally a younger Thiago, and he is so good. I watched the last Champions League game where he started against Real Sociedad. From what I saw, Florentino Luis was like horrible. He led an error that led to goal, and he got subbed out in the 31st. But this 19-year-old was a beast. And then if you watch the game as well, I got some stats right here. He scored the goal, right? He won 13 out of 20 ground duels. He had 15 defensive actions. He won 5 out of 7 tackles. And he had 4 out of 6 successful dribbles. He is a beast. And we've been tied to him. We don't talk about it a lot. But I think the scouts might have went for him also, just in the back pocket. He's really good if you guys haven't watched.
I've seen him as well. I scouted him, and I say scouted, it's very flattering to myself. I had a look at him and Florentino Luis as a pairing, as how good they were for some CDMs that we should look at along with some centre backs as well. But really, it's I think he's a fantastic young player as well. I think he has absolute boatloads of
Did he freeze?
Steven, are you still there? I think he froze.
Am I back? I'm not dead. It's okay.
You're good. Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm not dead. Don't worry. But no, I think he's a fantastic young player. I think I'd be absolutely made up with him as well. But it would be it's interesting to see how the same players keep popping up the past while, and as Jamie has mentioned here, Ornstein always says we do a lot of work behind the scenes. Liverpool are a very quiet club. Chad, I'll give you the similar questions. It's the storm, the storm Debbie, whatever it is. The whole country in Ireland is completely fucked with that storm. Menti, essentially, we're getting hit with a hurricane from the south part of the island. So big Atlantic storm coming in, and I think winds were up to just 120 kilometers an hour, which would be about 70 or 80 miles an hour, thereabouts. Great fun when you're trying to sleep in it. But anyway, nobody's dead yet, touch wood. But Chad, I'll throw the question over to yourself as well. Is that if you were to have only the one signing in January, which do you think progresses the team further? Would it be a CDM, or would it be a left-sided centre back? Which fills the hole in the team more?
I say a 6. I say a CDM, bro. We saw yesterday against Brentford. We saw that we lacked McAllister in terms of end of distribution and progression going forward. Even though he was very good in the defensive side, blocking out passes and making sure that he's been a nuisance. You can see he's still a little bit rough around the edges. But I think a 6 is the most important role, because the CDM you have, like Jamie just said now, you have Gerald Kwanzaa, who's been one of our shining stars this season. Joel Matip put in a shift yesterday. The whole match I was screaming Joel. So we have CDMs that are doing the job, and it's even Gomez. Gomez is also putting in a shift. He's trying to get back to his form before the first injury. So that's it. I think centre back is wanted for until the summer window, and then the 6 is the most important role. I wouldn't be surprised that the scouts are also looking at Antonio Silva from Benfica at centre back. He looks like one of the centre backs that's out there, young quality centre backs that's out there. So like you said, Liverpool, we do a lot of our business behind the scenes. A lot of the news that you hear on social media, and that sometimes it's true, sometimes it's just smoke going blown in the air. I wouldn't be surprised we get in a 6 in January, whether it's Andre, whether it's Luis, whether it's someone else at this. So we'll see. But 6 is the most important role for us at the moment, and then we look at the centre backs. With Joel Matip's last year, I think it's his last season on contract with us. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get an extension in the summer window, maybe a 1 year, just like Milner. And then we look for a replacement for him.
Yeah, I have a feeling I think Matip might have a bit of a renaissance here this year, in that he kind of finds his form in the short term, if that makes sense, where he'll have a good few games this year. He'll have a good stretch of games. He won't be playing a major role if Konate can stay fit, hopefully. But the likes of him and Kwanzaa will be able to help out that depth massively. And I think Kwanzaa has been stepping up leaps and bounds. Menti, this was asked of you, and I think you mentioned it in the chat that we have here, but I'm nearly sure it is. What's the name of the player, the 20-year-old centre back in Brazil? What's his name?
His name is Lucas Beraldo. He's good. I think we've flown out to go watch him play. He's about like 20 million. So that's FSG rate. So don't be surprised if he comes in. 20 million is very reasonable.
Yeah. And especially for a centre back that would have that potential. And to be honest, there's an awful lot of centre backs there's an awful lot of players that seem to be coming from the South American side of things these days. Like you have the likes of Diaz, Caicedo, Baleba with that came up into Brighton to replace Caicedo. And then now you have the likes of Andre, and then the player that you mentioned there. There seems to be an awful lot of them. Either it's us, either it's like Romano is saying it. So Romano said that we're seriously looking at him. Now, I wouldn't trust anything really Romano says, but he seems to be the only one that's really in the know about everything, as much as we don't like the guy. But it's interesting that there's an awful lot of focus on the South American market these days. I think maybe it's down to the likes of Brexit for the UK clubs, and that they can't go through the European Union to sign like Spanish or German or Italian youngsters anymore, that they have to go overseas or stay at home, which is probably why that's happening. But look, fingers crossed we get some young developmental pieces in that can grow and build into the team, and we've Klopp's Liverpool 2.0 for the next 10 years. But it is an interesting one, and hopefully we get some good business in January. But something that I do want to move on to, considering we're talking about centre-backs, is one that we currently have at the moment, who has won everything and I think is not getting the credit he deserves, but that is Virgil van Dijk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up some stats, and I want everybody to have a read of them across the bottom, and I want you to tell me who you think that is, because I think I've probably given it away. But so far, these are the statistics that Virgil van Dijk has put out so far per 90 this year. These are nuts. This is prime Virgil van Dijk level of statistics. These are Ballon d'Or nearly winning Virgil van Dijk statistics. These are absolutely nuts, and I absolutely adore the fact that he's kind of found his second wind. And Tom, I think his second wind has come from the fact that I think he's been given the captain's armband. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely could be that. I think obviously at the game yesterday. Like you could see him talking so much. He never stops talking, never stops shouting. He's a proper leader. I think he's been the proper captain, really, hasn't he, for a couple of years now. Obviously, Hudson's kind of been in and out of the team, hasn't he? He's been the one that's kind of been leading the team. But yeah, he just looks back to his dominant best, doesn't he? Like winning everything in the air, obviously, as then stats are saying. He's not been dribble passed all season, which obviously when he was in his prime, he didn't get dribble passed for years, did he? That was the whole big thing about that. Yeah, and he's doing them diagonals, the salary, he started doing them again as well. So he's just, everything that he was so good at, he's starting to bring back to his game. And if you get a prime Van Dijk in your team with Alisson behind, you've always got a chance of winning the biggest trophies, because they're both the best in the business at the best. So yeah, it's brilliant to see. I think we all thought he'd seen his best days, didn't we, last year?
Yeah.
But this year he's had a resurgence, and he just looks brilliant again, looks world class. He
does, and it's funny that you say that we kind of thought he was a little bit and to be fair, I'll be guilty of that as well, because going into this season, we had an unpopular opinions poll that we did a stream on, and mine came up, and I said that we should sell Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk next summer to cash in on them while we possibly can. And I still stand by that, by the way, so everybody can come at me about that. But I think, as you mentioned, Menti, Klopp is very loyal, and he usually tends to hang on to players longer than is needed. And I just hope that the likes of the legacies that Van Dijk and Salah have built here don't get tarnished by that. Similarly to how Henderson's kind of got tarnished. Milner, we all knew what Milner was. but Henderson, I think, overstayed his welcome, in my own opinion. But Chad, I'll throw the same question to yourself. That I'll actually give you a different one. Do you think the knee injury that was inflicted by dickhead Pickford was basically, like, at the age that he was at, possibly put an awful lot of fear into him, and now we're kind of seeing him gain confidence and bravery back in his limbs and his legs? Because an ACL injury is no joke. Like, the physical side of it is one thing to overcome, but you need to trust your leg again, and it's very hard to do that when you haven't been able to do it for so long. As Tom mentioned, it's become a bit of a resurgence, and I think it might be down to that, along with the captain's armband. What do you think? Do you think it's something else, or do you think it's possibly just he's trusting himself a little bit more?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I mean, we all know what Dino Arms did to Virgil at the peak of his powers. And then, I think given the few years he's been working on it, he's been running on it, and he's been playing with it, and it's given him the confidence, like you said, to be like, okay, I can be my old self again. I can do the old things I used to do. And, it's also, I also feel like it's down to the team around him. I think Klopp as well has been in his ear and told him that you can do the things that you need to do, and we will help you get to the point where you can shine again, where you can be Virgil van Dijk again. And I think that's also credit to the team as well, the team around him. That's not allowing him to be so under pressure in some of the situations. Obviously, last season was, last season. But yeah, 100%. I knew that Van Dijk was back yesterday when I saw him ping that pass to Salah. The one that Salah nearly put Diaz in, and where I wish Trent was back in his position. They can put that ball on Diaz's head and been up by 4. But yeah, this season, being on the stream early in the season, at the start of the season, actually, we all had opinions about Van Dijk and is he going to get back to his best? Is he going to be the best Van Dijk that we need him to be? Should we sell him? And, a lot of us have had doubts, and he's been proving us wrong the whole season. He's looked cool, calm, collected at the back. His touches are phenomenal. His position play, he's just back to Van Dijk. He's just back to being Van Dijk, the Van Dijk that we want him to be. And I think next season will be even better, because next season he'll have grown accustomed to the team in the midfield. He's grown accustomed to the new position of Trent and the way the system works. And from I think January onwards, even, he's just going to start getting better and better, and it's going to hopefully get a Ballon d'Or nomination again in next season. So yeah, he's been phenomenal for us. And yeah, the captain's armband has given him a lot of, you the guy, you have the keys to the castle, you in charge, spotlights on you, you need to shine first. And I think that's also, if you look at Van Dijk's personality, when you look at the Liverpool social medias, look at the inside Anfield, and you see Van Dijk's personality, he is the guy that wants to be the how can I say, the star of the show, in a sense. He wants to be the guy up front everyone looks at, and giving him the captain's armband, it's just giving him more emphasis to be Van Dijk, be himself, and be the star of the show, and pull everyone else around him and bring them also into that spotlight. So I think the armband is helping immensely this season, and yeah, he's just going to start growing and growing.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Because I think it is, and as Jamie's mentioned, it takes 2 to 3 years for an ACL to fully recover, and it is the mental side of it. Something that Anissa mentions here, and I apologize if I butchered the name, the injury made him play within himself. He was engaging less with opposition players. Now he doesn't seem as hesitant. A key point to that, Menti, was when he was chasing back against Mbeumo and just happened to poke the foot in while in the box. And Mbeumo isn't a slow player, and Van Dijk was still able to keep up, and you could see we were winning by that point, but you could see what it meant to him, because the second he poked the ball out, he just got both arms and started screaming, and it's almost as if, as Chad and Tom have mentioned, he's had a resurgence. Do you think it's similar to what Anissa mentions here? Oh, pronunciation's on point. Okay, perfect, thank you. That Anissa mentions here is that he seems to just be less hesitant. He doesn't play with the fear anymore after the injury. Do you think it's mainly mental, or do you think he's maybe had some physical confidence put back into him now with a more competent midfield in front of him, that he doesn't necessarily have to work as much anymore and he can kind of play a bit of a sweeper role?
I say it was mainly mental. Because physically, we all know he's very gifted. We all know what he gave us for the 2 to 3 years when he was in his prime. I think it's just been mental, to be honest. And the time that he got injured was possibly the worst, just because we were at a decline. He gets injured, comes back. You saw how we were just getting cut from the back. Team were yelling at each other. Him and Milner were yelling at each other last year. So, but the captain's armband did help for sure. So I think mentally he's doing very well, and he keeps this up. So anything could happen for us. So let's just hope for the best. And then, he has a good break. We all come back healthy, and then, we face City at 7:30.
Yeah, it's 7:30 for you guys. I forgot about that. That's even worse again. Oh god, like you'd wonder who picked that, considering the global reach that game is going to have from fans all around the world. And they picked the worst time slot for that. Like, I don't know if it gets them more money or what it is. What's that, Chad? Sorry,
who's playing the primetime game? The
7. I'll tell you now. The prime time would be 5:30 that day, if memory serves. It's fucking Brentford and Arsenal.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Oh my god! Like, you could have put that as one of the 3 o'clock games with BT Sport. I think you want to know why it is. Sky Sports have 4 games that weekend. Premier Sports don't have one, and BT Sport, or TNT Sport as they're now known, just have the like. I wouldn't mind. They could have pushed it to the Sunday or the Monday, because on Monday Sky Sports have Wolves and Fulham, and on Sunday they have the 4:30 slot of United and Everton. Like, talk about 2 dead and dreary games. They've Spurs and Aston Villa as well, and like at 2 o'clock on the Sunday. Like, there's 3 time slots: 2 o'clock on the Sunday, 16:30, or 4:30. These are all UK times, by the way, for anybody that's not in the UK. The 4:30 slot on Sunday, or the 8 o'clock slot on the Monday. Imagine a Monday night football following an international break after a full weekend of football, and everybody's played and you've seen everybody, and now you get to see the top 2 teams go at it. Like, it's just perfect. But clearly that as Anissa mentions here, scheduling has been absolutely horrendous, and it's just it is shocking. And look, but at least we're both in the same boat, in my own opinion, because City have the same amount of international players that will be coming back. Now, I don't know the ratio of South American players, but I know they'll all be coming back on the same plane anyway. But it's kind of the only saving grace that we're both in the same boat with that. We both have a high amount of international players coming back. My only worry is Darwin Núñez won't play, and Darwin Núñez will score the winner in that game. It is what it.
In terms of coming off this weekend, City getting a draw, kind of a loss for them. Us getting a win. Who would have that game? Who's more under pressure in that game? Is it City or is it us?
Oh, it's City. We have no pressure on us. City are coming off winning the treble. They're expected to repeat. Like, realistic, like all of the pressure, in my own opinion, is on City. And if anybody else has a different opinion, let me know, because it's realistically, you have a super team. That's like asking the Chicago Bulls in the 90s, like, who's the pressure on? Well, it's on you guys. It's pretty simple. Like, it's the pressure on Golden State Warriors right now, or when they were at their high, or is it on the likes of the Bucks now, the Milwaukee Bucks, or if it's on the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles right now? Like, those teams, like, it's when the expectation is there. Nobody expected Liverpool to be anywhere near where we are now. And following 2 games where we were down to 10 men, 1 game where we were down to 9 men, and VAR robberies, in the Premier League, we have 27 from 36 points and are 1 point behind the previous season's treble winners. I'd count that as a fantastic first quarter of a season, to be perfectly honest with you. But we're going to move on now to our last topic, and I'll get everybody's opinions on this. And if you can, please do throw them into the chat as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to just do a quick review on who we thought have been maybe not top 5. We'll do top 3. So I'll start with yourself, Tom. So far this season, they could be just whoever you think has been the most impactful for Liverpool so far this season. Doesn't have to be a new signing. It can be anybody, whether it be somebody that's a bench warmer that's come on a couple of times or whatever it may be. For this season so far, in all competitions, who do you think have been your top 3, in whatever order you want to put them in, your top 3 most impactful players?
I think there's probably 4 standout candidates, which are Alisson, Van Dijk, Szoboszlai, and Salah. I think I was going to narrow it down to 3. I'd probably just about miss out Salah, actually, although he scored the amount of goals he has. I think Alisson, he's just the best keeper in the world by a distance. He's just unbelievable, so complete, saves us so many times, so good with his feet, he's just got everything. Van Dijk, as we've mentioned, he's just back to his best, and when he's at his best, there's just no one that comes close to him. And Szoboszlai, even though he's dropped off a bit lately, I think the first 7-8 games of the season, he was probably our best player by quite a distance. He was just absolutely unbelievable. His pressing, his quality on the ball. Yeah, so I think in terms of the impact on the team, I would considering the amount of goals that he scored. I don't think he's had the biggest of an impact on the overall game as them 3 though. So that's why I'll just go for them 3. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of them. I think you're right on all of them. Chad, with yourself, top 3 most impactful so far this season, coming into just gone game week 12 or 13 that we're at now, and going into the last international break before AFCON in January. So give me your top 3 so far that you think have impacted the most.
It's gonna have to be Salah, Nunez, and Van Dijk. For me, I think Darwin's just been phenomenal this season, even though he hasn't been, on there with the score sheet. But the impact that he has, the ability to change games and help out in games, has improved immensely, of the last season as his first season, and then Salah obviously being Salah, and then Van Dijk has just, been that solid rock at the back. But I can also add, if I can, 3 honorable mentions, 3 surprise packages of the season, which will be Harvey Elliott, Szoboszlai, and Jota. I think Harvey Elliott coming off the bench, he's, at the beginning of the season, we were all thinking, where does he fit in? How does he fit into the team? Where is he? How can he play? Is he another Carvalho they have to send away? And, this season he's just coming on leaps and bounds. You have to give him his flowers at the end of the day. He's been a performer in that midfield when he comes onto the field, and Szoboszlai, obviously, not a lot of us expected a lot of him because we haven't seen a lot of him. But, yeah, he's worth every single penny that we gave for Szoboszlai. And then Jota, again, Jota coming off a season where he hasn't scored. I think it was 36 goals that he didn't score. And then now he's on a consistent basis. He's having an impact on the goal score, on the scoring shots, the game in general. So, yeah, those 3 I think will be honorable mentions when it comes to the impact of the season. They've just been phenomenal.
Yeah, it's I again don't disagree with any of them, especially the honorable mentions. Menti, before I give my own ones, I'll throw it over to yourself. Top 3 most impactful so far this season. Are you much in agreement with the two guys, or do you have anybody different? But give me your top 3 regardless.
Yeah, it's very similar, but for me, in my order, Alisson's always number 1 because without him, we'd always concede. Then I would say Salah, just because I think we do lead the Prem in big chances created. And I think as a team, we have 33, and he has 11 out of that 33. So that's about 33% of our big chances created. And he's second in goals behind Haaland by 3 as well. And then third would have to be Van Dijk. He's playing amazing. So those would be my top 3. And then Sobo would be Sobo and Nunez right below them.
Yeah, I can't argue with any of that. But I think one that I think everybody's missing is Jarell Kwanzaa. I think that's one that everybody's actually missing. I don't want to throw him into the top 3, but I feel that he's quite. Do you know what? I'll throw him in at 3rd. I think he's been one of the most impactful players on this team so far this season. purely because he's a 20-year-old kid that got thrown into a baptism of fire against Newcastle in St. James's Park when we're 10 men and 1-1. And the score is 1-1 at that time. And it's for a kid that we didn't know much about, be it for whatever reason, to come in and just be so composed. We kind of were all, our ears kind of perked, and we were all like, oh, okay, we may have somebody here. And he's just been phenomenal. He's been so composed. He looks like as if Virgil van Dijk cut his dreads, to be honest with you. He's a big, strong physical presence. He's very composed on the ball. For a kid at the age of 20 to come into one of the Premier League competing sides, is competing for titles and trophies. Fair enough if he came in for a smaller team, a lower tier team. There's no small teams in the Premier League, other than Chelsea and Everton. But realistically, and United these days. But look, tin pot clubs are going to be tin pot clubs. City can be thrown into that too. I'm throwing shade at everybody today. I'm taking all comers today. I'm in no form for it. But I think he's been absolutely fantastic. He's saved Liverpool 60 to 70 million pounds. And I think that's a part of it that goes very much understated, is that he's so composed. He's playing as if he's like, he has the best centre back in the world to mentor him in Van Dijk. And I think the sky is the limit for him on that. But what the other two then that I have above him, I'd have, the only reason I wouldn't put Salah in my top three, and this might be a little bit controversial, is because I guess it's just expected from him, and we know the impact that he's going to have, and it's almost a given. It's like Salah's in his own category. It's like we know he's going to produce. It's odd if he doesn't, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't put him in the top three purely because he is just an enigma. He's a unicorn of a player. In second, I'd have Dominic Szoboszlai single-handedly come in and transform that midfield, as many have mentioned in the comments. And he is going to be a midfielder that's going to be world-class for the next 10 years for a Liverpool side. I can't wait to watch him grow into that number 8 shirt even more. He's absolutely fantastic. And I get that, Jamie. Until he's a starter, he's not in the top 5. I get that. But I just love watching that kid play. And speaking of players that I love watching play, Darwin Núñez is my number one most impactful. For a player to turn around and essentially pull a 180 on people's expectations from last season. He came in and he bagged 16 goals and assists, and that's all well and good. But he was missing chances. He wasn't really fitting into the squad, and we were like, what have we spent our money on here? But he's the kind of player you love watching. You don't know whether he's going to like a perfect example of it is this season where he's through on goal. He sits down the centre back and he sits down the keeper and then smashes it off the post and gets an assist for Gravenberch. And then goes against Bournemouth, completely mistimes the touch on a beautiful crossfield ball from Trent, takes on the left back or takes on the right back and absolutely smashes it in top bins from outside the box, and possibly the most ridiculous fucking shot I've seen so far this season. Darwin Núñez is the epitome of heavy metal football, and he is an absolute joy to watch. And he one of them players that you just love watching. You can't explain it, but you just love watching him on the pitch. And the game against Brentford, I thought was maybe not his coming out game, because I'd like him to, like, he could have gotten 2 goals in that game only for the offsides. Second one being a little bit more blatant than the first, but he still got his assist. And Jamie, I love that you mentioned this, because Haaland has never scored against Liverpool in the Premier League. Van Dijk bodies him every time. So Haaland is going to have a very quiet game for that. You can take it from me. Don't captain him in your fantasy Premier League. He's going to have a very quiet game that game. Matip and Van Dijk are going to body him. But I think Núñez has been top for me. He's been absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, I'll move on to that because I've waffled enough. We'll get on to just a couple of questions that have been put in here before we finish up. First one is coming from David Shakespeare, and we have Hello, lads. Made up that we won and we need to win when we go to City. Do you think we can win when we play City? And do you think, and do you lot think that we can win the league? We'll do this quick fire, and I'll go around. Tom, I'll start with yourself on this. If we play similar, if the form continues between City and Liverpool, if the same teams that played this weekend show up after the international break, do you think we've beaten a City in the Etihad, considering we haven't beaten them since 2015?
I mean, we can't. I wouldn't say we have to win. I mean, we're 1 point behind them. If we get a draw there and beat them at Anfield, then obviously that stands us in good stead. So I'd take a draw. I think we can win. Like, we're sure we could beat them in the past. Done it multiple times before. We got the players, we got the experience. So there's no reason why we can't. But like I said, I don't think it's a must win. I think it's a must not lose of anything. But yeah, we're definitely capable. We've got the manager, got the players. So yeah, why not?
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. I think we're fully capable of it if the same teams turn up again. Chad, I'll ask you the second part of that question, Tom. Apologies. Do you think we can win the league?
Yeah, I think we can. Obviously, we're sure we could do it before. We've put 3 lots of points tallies that would win you the league in basically any other era. So yeah, I think we've shown we can win the league. We've got this. Well, some different players, but a lot of the key players that took us to that are still here. So yeah, I think we can definitely win it. Whether we will is a different question, but definitely more than capable.
Perfect. I think the same as well. I think we're well in there. I think we're going to. I think 85 points wins it for you this season. I don't think anybody's going to hit 90. But Chad, I'll throw the same 2 questions to you. If the same teams show up that played this weekend against Man City, do you think we win them and possibly go on then to win the league?
Yeah, 100%. I think Man City is a bit vulnerable at the moment, so we need to capitalize while we can. So yeah, the same 2 teams show up, we win the game. Winning the league, I think we can. I think we stay under the radar. Not a lot of people tip us to win the league, so I think that helps us in the sense that we just play our game and we don't have the noise of title contenders, and we just play our game, and if we do that, then we win the league. Especially now with how competitive the league is. So, Tottenham, Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, Arsenal, and Man City. How tight it is at the top 4. So if we continue how we're going, yeah, we definitely have a big chance of winning the league this season.
Yeah, I think so as well. I don't disagree with anything that you've said there. Menti, similar opinion. If both teams show up the same way that they did this weekend, as Chad mentioned, Man City seem vulnerable. They don't seem like the same beast that they have been the past couple of seasons. It's almost as if there's a fault in the armor. So, are you of the opinion that we could maybe steal some points for the first time since 2015 in the Etihad, or would you be happy with a draw and just move on then and win our points elsewhere? Or do you think this is the perfect time to take a shot at the title, if that makes sense, or take a shot at the big guys?
No, obviously it's always like if you have the opportunity to go top of the league, you should always go for it. But a draw, I wouldn't mind it. But at that point, we won't go under the radar. We're just going to be hunted by every team. But if we did take a draw, I wouldn't mind just like sitting in second and just stacking up wins like we usually did the past 2 years where we lost on the last day. I could see something similar like that. But with Arsenal in the mix, it could be a good year. But yeah, no, we definitely could win.
Yeah, it's as Staraman has mentions here, that victory doesn't guarantee the league win. We just don't have. He just thinks that we don't have the squad, especially in defense. But thankfully, there's a transfer window coming up in January, so we can address that. That's the way that I look at it. Okay, we have just gone over the hour. I do apologize if there was any questions that were there that I didn't get to. I want to thank Jen again for her lovely £4 donation with her super sticker. I really do appreciate it, Jen, as does everybody. It really helps out the channel. It's always very much appreciated, and we pump it straight back into the channel to give content out to you guys. Before we finish, just the last bit of housekeeping, just to make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers, hopefully before the end of the next transfer window. Very much do appreciate all of your guys' support. It all goes back to helping the channel. We're live every day from 7:30 in the day, UK time, 7:30 p.m. So make sure if you have liked and subscribed to this video and to the stream and to the channel, to make sure you have your bell notification on for all future streams and videos. We will be back again tomorrow at 7:30 UK time again, and we look forward to seeing you guys then. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We hope you guys have a lovely day, and we hope you guys have a lovely evening no matter where you are in the world. Much love, and you'll never walk alone. We'll see you guys soon.